So I didn't upload anything on the weekend when it comes to anime related stuff. When it comes, at least on Sunday, mainly because I had a party to go to on the Saturday night, so I couldn't review anything on Sunday morning. So I did watch Dragon Ball Super and I did watch One Piece. One Piece, I don't review filler, so that's that. Uh, Even though I'm enjoying the filler, don't get me wrong. And by the way, I don't know how many episodes we got left in the filler arc, the Marine Rookie arc, but the more filler we got, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the better, because the less shitty the pacing will be in Whole Cake Island, we can hope. And Dragon Ball Super, I'm going to be blunt. As much as I like to review Dragon Ball Super, this wasn't the one of the greatest episodes. I'm going to be real. I mean, it was good. It was fine. It was good, and it was the birth of Buller. But other than that, it's like, what else was there? To be honest, I'm more hyped up about the Tournament of Power. Next week we got Krillin against Goku, who's powering up to Super Saiyan Blue. Gee, I wonder who's gonna win. But no, seriously, it's like we've seen episodes like this, and we know who's gonna join. So it's not like, oh, this is the must review. So I'm gonna pick certain episodes here and there. That kind of frees me up to talk about the latest chapter of One Piece, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, more than just a couple of reasons, but I think we can all agree, ever since chapter 860, there's been a crap ton of hype, and rightfully so, about Katakuri, what he's going to do at the wedding, how he's going to be the huge monkey wrench in Capone's plan, which he will be. The fact that his observation hockey allows him to see the future, not only to see into the future, but also to lip read into the future, which is broken as fuck. So there's that as well, but I'm going to get to Katakuri by the end of the video. But mainly I'm going to talk about the death flags that we've gotten throughout this entire arc. It's a common thing that happens in One Piece, especially when it comes to people theorizing who's gonna have the highest death flag by the end of the series. I'm going to get into the Whole Cake Island arc, but there are some instances where people theorizing that Nico Robin is going to die by the end of the series. You got because obviously she's the last of Ahara, and plus you got an asshole by the name of Marshall D. Teach, who's as shady as they come, and I could totally see Blackbeard doing something to kill Robin by the end of the series. Another one is Shanks, the highest person out the entire One Piece cast to die by the end of the series. So that there's Shanks as well. You got Law theorized to die by the end of not only by the end of the series, but by the end of Wano, which I can totally see him doing, because remember, his whole purpose was to get revenge on Doflamingo, and not only that, the fact that Oda was teasing us, was dancing with the idea that Law was going to be killed in Dressrosa. I mean, how many bullets did Law take in that arc? And speaking of which, that doesn't necessarily mean that people will die by the end of Whole Cake Island. It's just a theory that happens. So there's that to take into consideration as well, because technically Law should have died, because not only did he get shot to death, he lost an arm. So it's like, yeah, so I could see Law dying by the end of Wano if things go awry, which they probably will. Because if they're going to go up in smoke against Big Mom, can you only imagine what's going to happen when it comes to Kaido? Number one is Usopp. A lot of people think he's going to die by the end of the series, and I can totally see why, because he could go out as a brave warrior of the sea. So there's talk about Luffy dying by the end of the series, which is a possibility, but no, I don't think it's going to happen. But when it comes to Whole Cake Island, I think we could all agree there's a certain amount of characters, not just what came out of chapter 860, but a lot of characters have been teased with death flags. So that's basically what I'm going to be discussing. So I'll go from the least likely to die to the most likely to die. So I know it's not going to be pleasant, because believe me, I don't want any of these characters, with the exception of a few, to die. But unless the name happens to be Judge Vinsmoke, then I want you to die. So I'm going to go from the least likely to die, and I'm going to start off with Big Mom. The amount of characters we got on Whole Cake Island, she's the least likely to die, but I'm going to tell you why her name's on the list in a minute. But it's important to take in consideration the ramifications of what's going to happen after Whole Cake Island, okay? And this is why I'm going to put a name on the list, because it's not. A lot of people said she's good. Capone is going to succeed in taking Big Mom's head, and he's going to become the Yonko. I have seen that theory spammed all over the place, and I don't see that happening, especially now. But I can totally see Big Mom dying, and here's why. Oda could come up with the crazy idea, and before anybody jumps and says, "Oh, well, Big Mom's a Yonko," well, if you classify this on a title of rank, well, here's my argument to that is, if Big Mom doesn't get killed or doesn't get taken out or something, do you really think that Kaido, if we're basing this on rank, power, and title, do you really think that Kaido is going to be taken down or killed before Big Mom? Do you? Because I don't. And not only that, if Luffy and the rest of the Straw Hats, as well as the Vince folks, fail to get this, if Capone fails to get this plan done of assassinating Big Mom, which is probably going to happen, but do you think she's going to just let the Straw Hats leave? And even if they do miraculously escape, what do you think she's going to do? Because Luffy is interrupting with a pretty important marriage to Big Mom. That's the most important thing you have to take into consideration. What is Big Mom going to do if she doesn't get away? Because we saw what she got pissed when it comes to the Giants when Judge asked her about when the Giants, she wanted nothing to do with them. So it's like, can you imagine what's going to happen if Big Mom doesn't see this marriage between Sanji and Puddin, which that's not going to happen. So the point is this: if that takes place and the Straw Hats leave, where do you think Big Mom's going to go? She's going to follow Luffy to the end of the earth, which is going to lead to Wano. And here's the problem: if that happens, Luffy has to contend with not only Kaido but Big Mom. And as hype as that would be, it's not happening unless, and by some miracle, Kaido and Big Mom decide to duke it out, and Big Mom gets killed off that way. That's the only reason why I see that happening. But even if that doesn't happen, I mean, yes, you can have Shanks step in and actually let Luffy a hand, but it's like, do you really think that's going to happen? And and if we throw in Shanks into the mix, you may as well throw the fourth Yonko, Blackbeard, who's going to obviously come in at the end, because that's just his style. I'm not saying she's going to die, but that's the reason why I'm putting on the list, because it's interesting to take that into consideration. Okay, so I'm going to go from Big Mom to the second lowest, and that would be obviously Sanji, and his character has been teased for a death ever since the introduction of the wedding. Remember, if he didn't go through with it, not only also Sanji, if he refused the wedding, he would have been killed as well. So there's a lot of talk about Sanji being killed by Pudding. She says she's going to shoot him through the eyes once they get married. We know that's not the way it's going to go down, but there is that threat. And the biggest reason I can see Sanji dying is because, believe me, like I said, with the exception of Big Mom, I don't want a lot of these characters to die, but you have to sometimes be real with yourself. And the main reason is, remember, Sanji wanted to die along with the rest of the Vince Smokes, even though his brothers and more specifically his dad Judge were complete assholes to him. He still wanted to protect the Vince Smokes, and he wanted to die with them to make sure the Straw Hats and everybody he cared about was safe. So I can totally see Sanji doing something like that to protect Luffy, because remember, Luffy came here to save Sanji, and we know what happens when it comes to certain rescue arcs. When it comes to Luffy wanting to save somebody, remember what happened to Ace at the end of Marineford. So it's like, it's important to take into consideration there is some things that Oda can play with. He can also play with your expectations. So Sanji, I would say, is the second least likely to die, but his name is still up there. I'm going to go from one Vince Smoke to another. Out of the entire Vince Smokes, I think she's the most likely to die, even though I don't want her to, and that's Reiju. And much like Sanji, she wanted to die with the Vince Smokes because of her past transgressions. She said it herself. I have no right to live because my hands are stained with blood. Even though Luffy wants to Smokes as well as Reiju, because remember, Reiju ended up saving Luffy's life, so there is that debt to repay for Luffy. But just because Luffy wants to save somebody doesn't necessarily mean they'll end up being saved. There's way too much chaos involved, and I'm going to get into into a certain thing when it comes to Reiji by the end of this video as well. Reiji's name is up there. She wanted to die with the rest of the Vinsmokes. It's more than just a death flag at this point. Again, I don't want it to happen. And if by some miracle she survives this arc, there's a possibility she could become an ally of the Strats, even a Strat, who knows, even a Nakama. Because we definitely need a girl on the Strats. I think Carrot's the highest likely to join the Straw Hats by the end of the arc. But my only question is this: does Carrot have a goal to match with the rest of the Straw Hats? Because each of the Straw Hats have individual goals. So would Carrot fit in with the Straw Hats? I think personally she would. In fact, speaking of a filler, in the recent episode we got about One Piece, you saw Carrot taking care of the Espada Marines, so that was cool. So Carrot could be a huge assist when it comes to combat ability, and the fact that she's a female. Like I said, I think we need another girl on the Straw Hats, so either Reiju or Carrot will be a perfect fit. So I'm going to go for the second highest, and that brings us to Pedro. And my reasons are quite simple, really. More to the point, his lifespan is on borrowed time. We know what happened when it came to Zeppo, the dad of Beppo. His entire lifespan was taken, as well as part of the lifespan of Pedro. And even though I know I was hard on Pedro because his character was so fucking shady at the start of this arc, and it's still, to be honest, there's a lot we still don't know about Pedro, but we know enough to know he has no problem sticking his neck out for others, because remember, Pedro he's a rare case, but he did cough up his eye to make sure that a lot of his lifespan was taken, not as much. So that's the reason why he's still alive. But the fact that he doesn't have long to live, and he already said, I will not probably make it to my homeland again, but so I'll do everything I can to help the Straw Hats out. So that is a death flag for sure. Even though Pedro is a beast, he still has unfinished business with Tamago. So I could definitely see Pedro doing something to sacrifice himself for the Straw Hats' sake, which is what. And that brings me to Jinbei, the most likely to die, and I don't think it takes a genius to figure out why, especially when you read chapter 860. That was more than just a death flag and a tease. That was a straight up prediction on the part of Oda. A lot of people want Jinbei to join the Straw Hats. He even said it himself. Somewhere along the line, I became a member of the Straw Hats, so he would have been the 10th Nakama for sure. I mean, we could get more than one Nakama, don't get me wrong, by the end of the Whole Cake Island. Carrot and Jinbei could join the crew. They're definitely going to join if Jinbei survives, miraculously, he's definitely going to join the fight when it comes to Wano. So they say, and I quote, it's not a question of if, but when. So I can totally see him giving up his life on Wano if it comes to that. That's just going to be as bad as the Whole Cake Island. And you can totally see Jinbei doing something to help out the Strats, specifically Luffy. So we know this plan of Capote is going to be a complete failure. We know that. The fact that Katakuri can see into the future, he's going to be a monkey wrench into that plan. But Jinbei may do something to make sure the Straw Hats escape. Remember, we saw Bonchan, even though he survived, he was ready to cough up his life to make sure the Straw Hats escape. Magellan, when he came to leave Impel down, and he managed to survive. But there was that as well. We thought Bonchan was done for. The same thing could happen with. I can totally see Jinbei doing the same thing, because remember, this is a rescue arc, and Impel Down was technically a rescue arc. And not only that, Jinbei mentioned when he busted Luffy out of the prison, him and Nami, he straight up said, "Oh, it's kind of ironic because we met in a prison." So would it be ironic if, and I hate to say this, would it be ironic if Jinbei would end up sacrificing his life? And not only that, obviously at Marineford, he took the punch from Akainu. That should have killed him, but because of law, he ended up surviving. I mean, Luffy got hit as well, but the point is, Jinbei was ready to take the hit. He's ready to die for Luffy's sake. So I can totally see Jinbei doing something to shield Luffy or to make sure the Straw Hats escape, which is a possibility now that I think about it. So again, these are just theories of mine. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to die, but you have to admit there's more than just one death flag in this arc that's introduced in this arc. So, and I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to wrap this up with I mentioned Katakuri quite a few times, and there is a lot of hype, but it seems to me that a lot of people think that the fact that this dude's observation arc is so OP that nobody on Whole Cake Island is going to hold a candle to him. Well, I do have a question for you, because there's another character on Whole Cake Island that has just as much mystery we don't know nothing about, with exception, and that would be Ichiji Vinsmoke. He took down one of the clone soldiers when he was a kid, and he delivered an electric blow to Sanji with the knee. Remember that? So that's the only feats we know about Ichiji, but we don't know next to nothing about what he can do. So I personally think that would be a hell of a matchup. Could you imagine that? Ichiji Vinsmoke versus Katakuri, Dogtooth Charlotte. That'd be hype as hell. And while we're going on those lines, let's say that Reiju survives the massacre. I could totally see Reiju going up against Commander Smoothie, because how many people can you get to take on a Commander? Reiju and Ichiji are the strongest Vinsmoke easily, so that would be a hell of a matchup. That would be hype as hell. And by the way, that would actually free Nami one-on-one with Pudding, which I think is more than just a possibility at this point. But those are just my theories. If you have some ideas of your own, again, if you think these characters are going to die or not, if you think any character is going to die by the end of Whole Cake Island, let me know in the comments below. That's it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I don't really like talking about people dying in One Piece, but yeah, we've had characters die in the past. Whitebeard and Ace, possibly Monet and Virgo, but I remember Law was teased to die in Dressrosa, so anything is possible at this point. So that's it from me. Again, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. Again, post your comments down below if you agree or disagree with anything I just said. Comment, rate, subscribe for more One Piece, and I'll catch you guys later.